In the preface, the author describes why she chose the title Coolie Woman and how it might be offensive to some. She hopes the explanation will also provide some context for those who don't know why the title might cause displeasure or pain. Several dictionaries define coolie as an unskilled laborer employed cheaply, especially one brought from Asia. A few go deeper to qualify it as a term used by Europeans to describe the non-European workers they transported across the globe. Coolie comes from the Tamil word kuli, Kuli, meaning wages or hire. It was first used beginning in the late 16th century by Portuguese captains and merchants along the coast in India, who passed it along to other Europeans. Most indentured laborers would not have used the word to describe themselves. They registered their protest in folk songs sung for generations. One of the folk songs has the lyrics, "Why should we be called coolies? We who were born in the clans and families of seers and saints." They felt mislabeled and degraded. Coming from the lips of plantation managers and overseers, the C word stung, a reminder of lowness in the hierarchy of the sugar estate, a hierarchy based on race. A British poet's perception of the word coolie or coolie girl had a new layer of meaning in Caribbean vernacular. It signified exoticism, someone who is very different, and someone who is fundamentally labeled as foreign. For the indentured immigrants who landed there, Guyana would be a new world, but it had long been identified more broadly with the New World. In the European imagination, this was where the risk and reward of the swashbuckling unknown were located. This indeed was where Sir Walter Raleigh had gone in search of El Dorado, the mythic city of gold. Elizabeth I's own court explorer had peered at it from a ship and wondered what fate and what riches it might hold. To the Dutch, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and British colonizers, who staked and swapped claims there over the next 200 years, the entire northeastern fringe of South America, stretching from the Atlantic to what is now known as Venezuela, was known as Guyana, after the Guyano Indians who lived along the Orinoco River, but eventually acquiring the meaning wild coast. To colonial eyes, it was terra incognita, a mystery complete, waiting to be mapped, peopled, and taken. Demerara was the shorthand the British used for the part of Guyana that they took early in the 19th century from the Dutch, who had turned it into a low-lying coastal strip into prime plantation ground through an elaborate system of drainage, canals, dams, and dikes. In the end, it wasn't gold that enriched Raleigh's countrymen. It was sugar, the main harvest of that drained land, rich with the alluvium of rivers beginning deep in the colony's interior. Long after Raleigh, Demerara continued to have the aura of the ends of the earth where adventurers went to make their fortunes. A parlor song, popular in Victorian England, captured the feeling. The chorus went, "So here we sit like birds in the wilderness, birds in the wilderness down in Demerara." That name still survives on the packaging for brown sugar. Between 1886 and 1890, 25 women were murdered in Guyana. 35 were wounded with cutlasses. Noses, those representatives of women's honor, seemed to be a particular target. In 1914, an indentured man assaulting his wife aimed for her nose. Failing to reach it with either cutlass or knife, He bit the tip off with his teeth. Guyana's immigration chief explained that the man was trying pointedly to inflict the brand of infidelity. Of course, the men do not always act symbolically, carving a woman's body into a statue modeling dishonor. Sometimes the violence exploded without design, through the weapon nearest at hand. It is impossible to know the minds of indentured men without speculating. One written account from Guyana, the only known literary text by an indentured servant in the British Caribbean, has survived to provide some insight. Published in 1916, it's a pamphlet of rhymed verses intended to be sung during the Hindu festival Holi, known in the Caribbean as Pagwa. The author of the verses is Lal Bihari Sharma, and he was indentured to Plantation Golden Fleece. The verses are, "This country is a country of wrongdoing. It destroys the wisdom to tell. Good from bad, truth from falsehood. It leaves no sense of dharma. I left my land to come to Demerara, where they wrote my name as a Coolie. I left behind my hymns and the rest of religion. I abandoned the paths of the Vedas. Much to my shame, I degraded my karma through immoral acts. Galloping into the fields on the heels of the people comes the Sahib with a whip in his hand, the white man's tall hat, like a helmet, high on his head. On the island of Demerara, all around, there are police stations. All around, there are ill consequences. Lord, where have you guided us? Lost, wretched creatures. Lord, where have you misled us? Deceived creatures." It drives one out of his mind. British Guyana drives us out of our minds. It drives one crazy. It is British Guyana.